Hi everyone, this is Ian Barker. I'm here to talk to you about the KINternship application today. This is a competitive elective course for your last year of study. It's approximately 20 students per semester. We determine off grades, interview, academic conduct, what placements are available, as well as applications. It is competitive, you don't have to take it, but it's a great course to kind of see if the field you're interested in is what you want to do in the future, if it makes sense, if you want to try something new. Placements are only for a single term. So you can do a fall or a winter placement. I recommend in your application trying to keep that as open as possible. If you're open to both semesters, that's great. If you can't, that's fine as well, but it gives me a little more flexibility when I'm running through the applications. If a very specific placement is only open in the fall or the winter, then I have to weigh that option. You can't do the KIN internship and the AT internship at the same time. In very rare cases, we do allow students to do the AT internship and then the KIN internship in a different semester, but it depends on student applications, who's applied, and availability. We want to give the most amount of experiential learning to the most amount of people. So we just take that into consideration when we're doing it, and we don't want to disadvantage you with being too busy and having too much on your plate to do well academically. The expectation for the course is 100 hours over the term. So that means you're at your placement site approximately 8 hours a week. That may be 1 8-hour day, 2 4-hour days, or multiple sessions. It depends on the placement site and the supervisor's availability and your schedule academically. So based on that, the course itself, there's 2 papers that you'll do throughout the course. There's a presentation at the end. There's a midterm and final supervisor evaluation, which is kind of takes up the academic portion of the course, and then the rest of it is at your field placement, actually learning hands-on. Most of the placement sites are across the region, so Durham region. We also are into the GTA and beyond, but those just depend on specific locations and student availability. Part of your application will ask you kind of where do you live, where are you looking to access. So if you don't have access to a car and you live in Oshawa, are you able to use the bus system to get to certain points? If you're living in the GTA, there may be some placements out that way that are easier for you to access. As well, if you have a placement site in mind, you can put that in your application if you have a connection that I can connect with. That way I can vet the clinics, make sure there's no conflict of interest, it's an appropriate site, they have proper insurance, etc., to make sure that it's the best opportunity for yourself. There's some examples of placements here. You can see the Ability Center, Grandview Children's Center, physio, chiro clinics, Baycrest, dementia care, Nova's Arcs, working with an OT, there's strength conditioning, Alzheimer's Society of Durham, high school teaching. The list kind of goes on, and it also changes every year. So some placement sites can't do one this year, but they might take 2 next year, or they're only available in the fall or the winter. So a lot of the next several months is myself trying to figure out what's the best fit for everybody, where does it make sense that you're going, and whether we have enough placements for that. So it's something to consider is if 10 people want to go to Grandview but they're only offering 1 spot, then we start looking at, okay, what are some alternate locations that might be good for your resume or good for you skill building, and seeing what's out there. The application and deadline will be in the link of the description of the video. I ask that you try and have that in by the deadline so that way I can get to work on it. If for whatever reason you're late, let me know, but I do take priority for the people that were on time and have it done. Within that application, there's also a 3-minute video. This kind of talks about your career goals, what type of placement you're interested in, if you have something specific you're looking for, if you're open to different opportunities. It allows me some flexibility to kind of figure out a great spot for you. Examples are if you really want to work in a clinical setting, but you've already worked at 4 or 5 different clinics, then maybe it's a good idea to build your resume and work with a different population. Or it might be a great experience to go to a different clinic and see how they run theirs. So it is a bit of a process. I try and have applications, especially for the fall semester, I'll have them done in locations done hopefully by the time you register for classes in July. If there are extenuating circumstances, I'll let you know. We'll communicate that and say, I'm waiting on this placement to say yes or no or to do an interview. But we'll keep that in mind and have you ready to go. Sometimes the winter semester ones will take a little longer. Depending on placement sites, they may not know or they may have to do interviews in the fall. If that's the case, then I usually recommend pick another elective course when you're picking your courses, and make sure you have that there, and then you can drop that course when we get permission to do the kin internship and everything's finalized. But I'll communicate that with you throughout the summer as we're figuring out these placement sites. If you have any questions, my email is ian.barker@ontariotechu.ca. You can come by my office in ERC by the labs. Happy to chat about this if you have any questions. Make sure you apply though, because if you don't apply, then you don't get a spot, and I'll do my best to find you a great spot. It is not for everybody, but it can be a very good experience to get a taste for what's out there. Thank you very much. If you have questions, let me know.